This is Leon, and I want to talk about a point that I realized for myself. The point is in relation to looking at someone as a leader and or looking up to them in some form or fashion due to seeing something in them, whether they are actually living the point or not. It is a point of seeing something in that other individual. For instance, me connecting a word to that person, a word such as directive or self-honest or responsible. The person doesn't necessarily have to express it, but it is just something that I am seeing through that person based on my idea of them, such as they may have a particular behavior within how they express themselves, and within that expression would be me connecting that word to their expression, such as the word responsible or the word directive. A lot of times for me it is the idiom which is they got it all together, basically. And that idiom is predominantly connected to females because of different dimensions and perspectives, such as seeing a female as having it all together because of their physical form, and how a female physical form, to me, as far as my experience, is more valued from the perspective of being more attractive. And so with me connecting the word, the idiom or the phrase, got it all together, then what happens is that it is a point where I realized for myself that I was already separate from having it all together, basically, which is if you would connect a word to that idiom or that phrase, the word would be responsible, basically. So it is within me reacting to the point of seeing another as having it all together means that I am not living that word or that phrase. And so thus it is me mirroring to myself through someone else. It's actually seeing myself, basically. It's actually seeing myself within another as not having it all together, or believing that I do not have it all together, and so I react to that person, and the reaction is, for instance, staring at them, and in my mind telling myself, if I was to voice that stare, it would be, man, you know, it's just something about that person that I like them. You know, they're very, they look like they just got it all together. You know, they're very responsible. Or a lot of times I would say, man, you know, that person is highly evolved. And, you know, this phrase highly evolved comes from different points in my life, such as seeing angels, and my grandmother telling me these stories about angels, and connecting these angels to these dolls that my grandmother had, and these dolls were, guess what, female, and also and also highly evolved. There was a book I read about some aliens, and these aliens were highly evolved according to them. Not on an ego level, but more on in the book they put it into a structure. And the structure basically was Earth, for instance, were people that were on the lowest evolution spectrum, and then you have 9 stages of evolution, basically. But this is in the book. I don't really want to get into that, but I realized that within me, seeing such a person in a specific way or manner means that I am not living that word. And so what happens is that I start to live the word, by taking responsibility for the things in my life, various things, various tasks. And what happens is that when I start taking responsibility, I don't experience that same feeling that I experience when I perceive a person in a specific way. Because a person that I perceive in a way as being responsible or having it all together, there is an energy experience that I experience in relation to that person. And that energy experience is mainly desire. Not a sexual desire, but just a desire to be like that person. And so what happens is that when I start taking responsibility, I don't get that same desire experience, because the desire experience, it feels good. The experience or the feeling that I get is rather resistance. And so because of the resistance experience, because of the uncomfortability of it, then I start to just stop taking responsibility, because I don't like the way that the responsibility or the resistance energy or experience feels. And so I slowly just give up, basically. It's a giving up point. Because that experience that I connected to a person being more than me on some form or fashion doesn't match the experience when I actually take responsibility in certain areas of my life. And so, but see, what I realized within this is that it is then not me actually taking responsibility as in such a way that I am doing it genuinely. But what happens is that I do it because of the experience. I do it because I want to get something out of it, like a feeling or something, or an experience out of it that makes me feel good, that makes me then thus perceive myself as being superior. But see, then that's actually going on the opposite spectrum from the belief of me being inferior to a superiority point to balance it out. But see, not realizing that that superiority point is also an inferiority point, because it is a point where I position myself in the belief that I need to exist within superiority in order to be happy. And so thus it is actually a point of diminishment. And so I just give up, because I wasn't genuine within my approach to taking responsibility. And so what I realized is that it's not about getting something out of taking responsibility. Because when I do it from a starting point of wanting to get something out of it, like a good feeling or a reward, then it is not a genuine doingness. It is doing it from a dependability on something else that I separated myself from. So the point is, it's about self-movement, moving myself to just do what I set myself out to do, make a decision to do it, and to stick with that decision from beginning to the end. Because then that is when it becomes genuine. And from that, there is a satisfaction that emerges. But it's not a satisfaction based on an experience or an energy or a feeling. It is a satisfaction based on, I did this myself. It is something that I did from beginning to the end with no influence from the desire for an experience or a feeling, no influence from something else that will give me a particular experience or a good feeling. So, because what happens is that I can easily go from taking responsibility to not taking responsibility and just be driven by something else, another task that is more fun or more entertaining. And so thus within that, I realized that then what I'm doing is not genuine. It's then done, but it is then done from, or what I get myself into. It tells myself that I'm not actually genuine within my approach. I realized that what is actually genuine, when I am actually genuine, is when I can do that very thing, take responsibility for that very thing from beginning to the end. With no, some things may come along like interruptions, stuff that has to be done within that moment. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about actually being driven off of a task because of getting into another task that was more entertaining, and then your focus is all gone, basically. It's on something else now. See, so then that genuinity from that self-directive stand was not strong enough. But the experience within was stronger. And see, that is the experience that more matches the experience when I, see someone as more than or superior because of what I'm attaching to them as a judgment, judging them as being more than or better than me. So that experience more matches the experience that I get into where I gave up my initial decision. More matches my experience when I see another person and when I judge them in a certain way, because they both feel good, basically. And so that is the actual superiority point. It's not the person, it's my experience to that person. And so when I redefine, so it's a point where I have to redefine superiority, which basically just means standing equal to that I made more than, standing equal to that and positioning myself in such a way that I'm able to direct myself. Because then I am the one that is the one that is behind the wheel, driving and directing things, so I can redefine superior in that matter. Me taking the directive principle and the initiative to take action and to, within that action, do it from the beginning to the end. And so, thank you.